Hello and welcome to my very first experience of canning. I picked these apples from our tree in our garden. There were actually, several more than this. We've actually given some of them away, but this is what was left on the tree, and I decided that I would try my hand at canning. Now, I kept some of the apples back because they are eating apples, so I wanted to keep some in the fruit bowl. So it didn't really make an awful lot with regards to canning. In fact, I just had 2 jars because obviously it cooks down so much. But this is how I made it. So the first thing I did was to fill a bowl of cold water up and popped all the apples in to have a good wash. And as you can see, I'm just putting on some of the white vinegar just to give it a really good clean, and then I bobbed them about in the bowl for a little while. Then once I was happy with the fact that they were nice and clean and no bugs, etc., I gave them a rinse under the tap, and then I dried them all, as you're just about to see. So here you can see that I've just laid a tea towel down on the worktop and given them a nice rinse, and just laying them out on top of the tea towel. And once I've done that with all of them, then I'll take another tea towel and just give them a wipe over to dry them. So here you can see I'm drying them and just putting them all to one side to get them all ready to start peeling and chopping them up. Well, as you can see, I've started to peel them. Some of them it looks as though I'm peeling quite thickly. That was just to get any imperfections from the skin. Make sure it wasn't underneath in the apple. There were a few that had like little marks, but it was purely just on the skin. The apple was absolutely fine itself. So here I am peeling them, and then I start to chop them. So once I chopped them, I popped them into the saucepan. As you can see, I didn't add any sugar or anything like that, no sweetener to them. I did add some lemon juice to keep the colour and just, add that little bit of a tangy sort of that nice lemony sort of flavour to it. And then I just put it on a very low burner and just left it basically to do its own thing, checking it, of course, giving it a stir, make sure it wasn't sticking to the bottom of the pan. Meanwhile, I just found 2 jam jars with the lids, gave them a good wash, put them in the oven for 30 minutes at 150 to make sure that they were really well sterilised. And then when I got the apples to sort of the consistency of cooking that I wanted it to be sort of broken down and soft, but still with some slices, like lumps of apple in there. So I left the jars to cool down slightly, and then I just started to fill both of them with the apple sauce or the apple puree, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic for pies. It'd be fantastic to have with pork. In actual fact, we had some on our porridge this morning, and we have pork for dinner tonight, so we will be having some with our pork chops. But now, as I say, it was time to get the jars nicely filled. So once I'd filled the jars and just sort of wiped around the top to make sure there wasn't any coming down the sides, it was time to pop the lids on. So that's what you can see that I'm doing here. And then the next step you will see is me filling a saucepan with cold water, putting the jars into the cold water. One of them was a little bit too tall because you need to literally cover them in water, make sure it goes over the top, but one was too tall, so I just lay it on its side and it was absolutely fine. What you can see here, I'm showing you that the top of the lid still has a little bubble bit that you can sort of press up and down. That we need to get rid of. So as you can see, this is the pan with the jars in, and as you can see, the water, goes beautifully over one of them. The other one I had to lay on its side. I was a little bit worried about doing it, but it worked out brilliantly. It was cold water that they went into. I brought the pan to a boil, left it on a rolling boil for 30 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, I stood the jar up, the one that was laying down, and I just left them in the water until they cooled down naturally. Now, because of the pressure in the water, the little bits on the top, the little bubbles on the top, they have now gone down beautifully, which is exactly what's supposed to happen when you can your food. Now, as I've said, I'm no expert. I've never done it before in my life. And that was why I wanted to try literally just a small amount of food in case I got it wrong. So lately I've been watching quite a few Amish canning videos on YouTube. So I've really paid attention as to how they do their canning and making sure that that little bubble on the top, the pressure brings it back in to preserve the food. Many of the Amish videos I've watched, they've been canning their food for years, like 3 years plus even. I didn't intend to do it for that reason. I just wanted to use up some of the apples and not waste them, and to come up with a really good idea, which meant I would use them up. And of course, it was my very first experiment of canning. So I popped the date on, what's in the cans on the top of the lids, and I'm chuffed to bits with it. Please let me know if you've done any of this before, what you've made, if you've enjoyed it, if you're going to try it. And if you have enjoyed this video, please please give this video a like, a nice big thumbs up, and consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.